My 41F husband, 42M, says he cheated because he felt like it was his only chance to do so. My husband of 22 years cheated with a 23-year-old intern at the company he worked at, and I found out because he subsequently fired from a position he had been performing well at for the past 3 years because of the affair. For a little bit of backstory, my husband and I grew up in the same small town but met when we were both enrolled in a local community college. He was in a bookkeeping program and I was studying to become a licensed nurse practitioner. My husband later told me that by the end of date 3, he was set on doing anything so that I would be the one who he married. He always came off as a very shy guy, and could not live down the time he sat on a bar stool and it broke in front of everybody, because he always struggled a lot with his weight. I always felt that I was pretty average looking, but had enough of a love for soccer and ballroom dancing that it was pretty easy to stay in shape. However, my husband kept saying that he didn't deserve me and that I was the most beautiful girl that ever gave him the time of day, and he was shocked when I said yes to a date. He proposed after only a year of dating and I accepted. However, I had to beg him to wait until we graduated, accepted jobs, and planned out where we were going to live before we had a wedding. I felt like I was pulling teeth because he was jealous that my ex from high school was at a top 20 college and had started a successful business with his roommate, even though we were thousands of miles away, and I did not want to talk to an ex who had cheated on me several times during our senior summer. Every day he asked why we couldn't just go to the courthouse that day, even though we only ended up waiting a year after his proposal to get married. Now we have been married 22 years and have 3 kids together. I am a nurse at an adult daycare and my husband started off as a bookkeeper for small businesses. Small businesses in our area tend to come and go, and finally he got a job at a larger regional company where he fit in well with his new coworkers and was promoted. This all came to a halt Friday evening when he broke down and told me that he had been fired and he had it all but lost it all. He had been an irritable, angry person for the past few months, so I knew something was wrong, and now he confessed it all. He said there was a 23-year-old who interned in his department and he supervised most of her work. He said that he was shocked when she seemed to express an interest in him and thought it was too good to be true. He said she wasn't as attractive as I was when we first met, but that she looked similar from afar, was fit, and kind to him. One day they stayed late at work after an office party, and one thing led to another, and they started sneaking off to local motels to sleep together. It all came crashing down when higher-ups noticed dubious activity on his company card and when the rumor mill caused a coworker to follow both of their cars to a Super 8 and come back with pictures. I guess to keep me from finding out, he started paying for the affair at his company's expense. Lunch and dinner bills for 2, paying for her gas bills, etc. He was fired first without any severance, everybody seemed to be told, and his boss threatening to press charges. His mistress was initially allowed to finish out her internship, which ends in December, but they got photographic evidence of her getting a cash advance from my husband's corporate card at an ATM and is apparently being fired with a small severance and some signed agreement. This evidence will probably further tip the scale as to whether my husband might face criminal charges. After telling me all this, my husband started sobbing and saying that the company was so good to him and I was so good to him and he ruined it both. He said that his only explanation was that she reminded him of me when we were first married, empathizing she was less attractive. He said that he still struggled with his weight and was ignored by most people outside of his family, but she paid attention to him. He said he couldn't help it and it felt like he was getting older and still gaining weight, so nobody would find him attractive soon enough. He said his judgment was clouded and didn't realize that when this woman told him she had extreme anger and impulse control issues that she was briefly hospitalized for, and was estranged from all her family and friends, she meant it. He even defended himself by saying that he thought that if the company would give her an internship, she could not be insane and that she tricked everybody. He apologized and asked me to forgive him, saying he loves our kids and to please not leave him. What do I do? I knew something was up and asked him more than a few times what was going on. He responded with silence, slammed doors, and withholding of affection and sex. After turning 40, I was looking forward to our future. We live in modest circumstances, knew we would never be anything more than average income with our combined salaries, but I thought we'd be happy. That we'd save for our 3 kids, aged 13, 10, and 8, to go to college and hopefully a bit of a cushion in case of health issues or emergencies. I always thought, after getting cheated on in high school, that I'd get up and leave if anybody did it to me again. But I feel paralyzed and cannot face my husband, even in therapy, because the explanation he gave me was so maddening. Original, July 22, 2021. Before I start, I'd like to say that English is not my first language, therefore I'm sorry for any mistakes in advance. My granddaughter, 16, Lynn, lives with me, M67, and my wife, 62, since she is 4 years old. Our daughter, her mother, and her father died in a car accident and we took her in. But lastly, Lynn has become very isolated and rude to us. I don't mean with this that she always has to respect us, because we are older, because this, in my opinion, is a stupid concept, but she sometimes calls us names without any reason or refuses to talk to us or eat anything my wife or I cooked. I should probably mention that me and my wife are Christians and religious. Lynn is not, but we accepted that a long time ago. 2 days ago, some packages for my wife were delivered to the door and I opened the door. Suddenly my granddaughter comes basically flying down the stairs, grabs one of the packs and runs up to her room. Lynn leaves for a walk with the dog, and when I bring the items away to the bathroom, I catch a look through her door and see a rainbow flag hanging on the wall. I'm not someone who likes snooping in people's rooms, so I hold back myself from further investigating her room, and when she comes home I don't say anything. I told my wife, and that I thought she might be a lesbian, but my wife reminded me that my daughter never, ever brought anyone home or mentioned anyone and pretty obviously is not interested in girls. I should also mention that Lynn recently cut her hair short and started coloring it, something that's normal for teen girls, I guess? I don't know, my wife neither. I think we both are just too old and born too long ago to really relate to our granddaughter a lot. There's another thing my wife noticed, because I usually don't notice such things, but she told me that Lynn started wearing less dresses and skirts and boy clothes, meaning the shirts you find in the boys department in a store. I don't really mind, but when I saw that rainbow flag I realized that maybe all these changes have to do something with her being a lesbian. Maybe she didn't tell us, because she thinks we will not accept her because we are Christians, and both me and my wife were sadly raised in very homophobic times and environments. But humans can change, and although we maybe are old, we are not stupid, and changed our mind over the years. Me and my wife definitely will accept Lynn, we love her, and I don't care whom our granddaughter loves, as long as she's happy. How can I tell that to Lynn without giving off that I snooped in her room? I obviously didn't really search her room, but I suppose the rainbow flag was not meant for my eyes. TLDR, accidentally saw a rainbow flag in my granddaughter's room. She has been isolating herself from us for some time. Combined with the behavioral changes and the way her looks changed, me and my wife are guessing that she might be a lesbian. We are both religious Christians and think she might be too scared to tell us, fearing our rejection. How can we tell Lynn that we love her, no matter what? Update August 2, 2021. First of all, thank you everyone for the tons and tons of advice we got, and thank you so much for all the help, support and offers to explain a lot about the LGBTQ+ community to me and my wife. This really helped us so much. So, long story short, Lynn came out as non-binary and bisexual. They told us that in German, they prefer male pronouns, we don't have a neutral pronoun, and neutral nouns for themselves, and in English, they prefer the pronoun they, so I'll try to go with this one. I apologize if I happen to use the wrong pronouns, but I've used she for 16 years. Me and my wife are trying hard to get used to it though, because we want our grandchild. I think that's the neutral form, to be happy. The long story, someone advised me to ask around in our community for other LGBTQ+ people, and this was a good idea. We found out that close to us there is a trans boy, from girl to boy, I don't know if there is a word to describe that, living, and I decided to use this as a conversation starter. So when they came down the stairs for dinner, I just decided to ask them, did you know that Sam is trans? I absolutely support him, he looks so happy. And my wife nodded. Lynn looks at us in shock, then surprise, and starts crying and just says, "I know." 5 minutes later, she came out to us as bisexual and non-binary. They said they've thought about new names because they feel like the old one doesn't really fit them, but they didn't find a good name, so we're currently searching for a new name. I don't fully understand the concept of feeling like something between a woman and a man, because that's how Lynn told us they feel, but as long as our grandchild is happy, me and my wife will do everything we can to support them. And we will protect them. We know that there are a lot of homophobes in the world, and sadly also among other Christians. This is not okay, and never will be. To my fellow homophobic Christians in my private messages, you don't go to hell for being queer, just like you don't go to heaven for being heterosexual or cisgender. Thank you. Thank you everyone again for the advice, it really helped a lot. Me and my wife sure still have to learn a lot about the LGBTQ+ community, and we will help our grandchild wherever we can. And by the way, I showed Lynn this post and they agreed to take name suggestions from you guys, too. If anyone has a good idea, please tell us. They'd prefer a masculine or neutral name. Thank you again.